And welcome back to the Boardroom International Surfboard Show. Earlier you saw Barry Snyder in the shaping room, and now we are going live to what would be our final interview. David Stanfield along with Todd Kline. And over here is the man that's going to tell us about his flock, Mr. Crozier. Hey, Blackbird.
Blackbird.
Good to have you here, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
And first of all, I believe one of your boards is up there, but I know the models. We got the Owl.
That's it.
That's the Owl?
That's the Owl.
Woo! Well, you know what? Let's talk a little about you first before we go check out the Owl, but you do have a flock of boards. Where are you based out of? What's your incentive?
Based out of Leucadia, California. And the incentive?
Is to serve.
Make boards that work, man.
Okay, you've got the Owl, the Hatchling, the Falcon, the Blue Jay, the Mighty Bird, and the Fowler. That's for the longboard guys, right? Mm-hmm. But being a local guy right here, you test the waters. You make stuff that works for local surfers, but you distribute around the world as well?
Not worldwide yet. Getting there someday. But yeah, right now reaching as far as the East Coast, up and down the California coast. And got my first order in France last week, so pretty stoked on that. But yeah, locally, you know, the waves around here don't have as much juice as Hawaii, you know, Indonesia, waves like that. So definitely have to make the right boards for the right conditions. And the Owl has been kind of the consummation of that process over the last 5 years. For me personally, I'm 6'2", 205, and I ride the Owl pretty much in everything. My board's 5'10", 21 wide by 3 inches thick, and ride it from waist high to a couple feet overhead. Point breaks, beach breaks, super versatile. And real quick, just kind of about the board, you know, the planing hull, displacement hulls have really made a big push in the surfboard design, and totally was loving them, totally was, you know, digging on them, a lot of speed, a lot of carving, but not a lot of performance beyond that. So I started messing with the outline, and once I got the outline dialed in, I started, you know, revamping the bottom. And the Owl is kind of the best in the outline and the bottom contours. And like I said, it's my go-to board, and right now it's the #1 selling board out of the flock.
Let's walk over and check it out, Tim.
Well, Todd, you being from the East Coast, you know how critical board is for the specific conditions.
Well, I'm pretty intrigued, you know, looking at it from a low center or a low vision over there. You can tell there's no rocker in this. I'm not going to go into detail based on what I see. Tell us what the board is made of and the intricacies as far as the rocker or lack thereof.
Sure, yeah. Well, since we're on the deck up, we'll just start here. Have a little bit of an S deck. So S decks come in low, rise up where the Y point and the thickest point are, and begin to steadily drop towards the tail and usually roll off at the tail, so hence the S deck. But Y point is ahead of center 4 inches, and that's also where the volume is.
What does that do?
Well, it keeps the drive and the momentum off of your front foot, but it also keeps the speed up front so you can beat sections, make it around sections.
Which in smaller surf, all of us have a tendency to want to lean forward to get that drive.
Exactly. But a lot of people are driving off their front foot, but they're not necessarily quad proponents. And so you can ride this thing off the front foot and still keep it 2+1. So when you step back on the tail, you've got all the performance that you want back on your tail. So it's kind of business up front and party in the back, if you will, you know?
Joe Dirt.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of rocker up front, but not too much. It's got just a little bit in the tail. So that's what's unique about this board. It's not a true planing hull in that sense. Relatively flat through the middle, and it's got actually a little bit of concave up front, and then the roll comes out of the concave. So that's where it does mimic some of the planing hulls. But again, back in the tail is where the mojo on this board is. It's a pulled in tail outline, and it's got V that begins in the transition between your front foot and your back foot, so it allows you to go rail to rail real quick. So this thing performs.
Is this a new model or is this your top selling model, or both?
It's a little bit of both. This board as a model came out about 2 years ago, and in those 2 years it's just steadily climbed to the top of sales.
We'll have a seat. I'm sure we got plenty more to talk about. You touched a little bit about the East Coast, and it sounds like you're just kind of getting going as far as distribution goes. And sorry if you already said this, how long have you been shaping?
I started shaping in 1995.
1995,
Yeah.
and selling it retail since that time, or doing it
No.
more for just a hobby back then?
No, actually I was doing it full time in 1995. Worked for about 3 years in the surf industry and took a break from that and came back into building boards in 2005. So since 2005, I've been going full push on it.
Well, that board looks super fun. And you talked a little bit about the East Coast. I'm originally from there, South Florida. Here's a chance to plug your top selling account right now. Who is it?
Top selling account right now is through my friend out in New Jersey.
Okay.
And he's got a couple of accounts that just opened up for us through Surf Expo. So we've got a couple of stores.
Okay,
We'll just leave it at that.
It looks like a really fun shape. It looks, it looks like you can make one of those little 2-foot days that is very common on the East Coast fun.
Yeah.
So, I look forward to seeing how the distribution goes out there, and hopefully, maybe one day I could sample one, but I'd love to see one of my friends on one of those things and see how they actually perform.
Right. I just realized you wanted to know the top shop.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Inlet Surf.
I just didn't know if you didn't want to touch it, you want to stay away, so I let you walk away from
cool.
it.
Appreciate that. Inlet Surf.
Inlet Surf.
Yeah.
It's always good to plug your accounts because they're the ones that pay the bills.
Right.
And there's probably other guys in the area that are seeing these boards now more and more at the local break. Where do I get them?
Yeah.
There you go.
Right on. Yeah, actually, I'd like to say thanks to James Schofield, who's opening up the East Coast for me. He's my rep, so.
Awesome. Well, we talked a lot about the owl. Let's go into a little more detail about some of your other shapes and, the conditions that, if I'm a guy watching right now, why would I want a board outside of the owl? Tell me about the spectrum of your different boards and the conditions that you usually ride those boards.
Sure. Well, being a shaper, I'm also a surfer. And so, I always begin the concept boards based on my surfing. But I have 2 sons that are 12 and 10, and so my concepts have gotten broader because of their surfing abilities. And they're leaps and bounds beyond me. And so they're keeping my shaping and my design concepts real sharp and real forward progressive. So I'm really excited about the really small boards. I'm shaping 310s, 4-1s. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to get my head around the proportions at that size. But when it gets under their arm and under their feet, it fits, and I'm kind of thinking of it like, as a dad, you don't want to give your 12-year-old kid your size 12 shoe. You want to give him something that's going to fit him.
Tell him to play
so
basketball.
My shaping has come down to that, and.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
On a 310, how big is the blank you start with?
They come down to, like, the smallest blank I can get right now is 5'8". So, a lot of foam coming off the nose and the tail, and it's real flat, so having to put rockers back into it, it's definitely keeping me challenged in the shaping room with those guys.
Awesome. Are you making boards other than for your family members, for some young surfers?
Yeah, definitely making them for, each son has kind of a core group of friends that, are about their age, a little younger, a little older, and, the reach is definitely starting to grow beyond that, and especially at contests when they see my kids on these boards, they're like, oh, that fits. So they come up and talk it out, and Mom, Dad, this guy's making boards for his kids, have them make me one. So that kind of momentum is definitely happening.
What are the ages of your kids, and how much do they weigh?
Micah's 12, he's my oldest, and he's just now reaching into about 90 pounds, and Caleb's 10, and he's at 75.
And there is a world of difference from what they can go on the shelf and try to surf.
Oh, for sure.
They need a custom board right off the bat.
Yeah, they're keeping me busy. I'm making a bunch of different boards. I'm really coming back to the single fins for the point breaks locally. Myself, I like the quads, so I have some shorter, fatter quads. The Owl is my favorite board to ride and shape. But my longboards lately have really stepped into a new realm of design. I'm starting to make more boards with tail kick, flatter noses, doing a lot of wedge stringers to create flex on the nose, rigidity on the tail, bigger fins to keep the tail locked in when you're on the nose. And just really seeing a lot of boards out in the water locally makes me feel good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Does it feel good when you're out in the water and you're surfing and somebody says, they start talking about your board and you let them ride it? How is that?
Yeah, the ego has to be kept in check on that stuff. There's been a couple times where I've seen a guy walking down the beach with a board and I've thought to myself, wow, that board looks really good. And And then he gets closer, and I'm like, oh, that's one of my boards, you know? But I mean, in all honesty, that's why I think every shaper's doing what they're doing is they do it out of their love, you know? So I don't think it's wrong to appreciate, you know, what you've done. But it does really feel good when you hear the positive feedback from people, you know? But the other side is that you have to be also able to take the critiques on it, you know, and grow from it. So it's good either way. It's good.
Why Blackbird? What you came? I read about it, but tell us about Blackbird.
Oh, Blackbird, yeah. Kind of going through a transitional point in my life with career and work and family, and reading a bunch of inspirational writings to really kind of trying to get, you know, a bearing, and found myself reading the Bible. Read the story of a man named Elijah, and kind of going through the same transition in his life, and just really putting forth a lot of faith in what he was doing and a lot of trust, and kind of so goes that he was out in the wilderness, didn't have any food, and he was kind of guided to a place where there was water, and every day these blackbirds, these ravens would show up with food and they would feed him. And the ironic thing about it is this guy is a prophet, and he knew that the law was he's not allowed to touch unclean food, but God was still providing for the guy through the ravens, which were unclean animals. So God cared more about the person than the law. And that just really spoke to me and stoked me out. And it kind of gave me the freedom to just push into what my love is. And instead of Raven, I just kind of thought Blackbird sounded better, so I went with it. And he's been feeding me and my family through it ever since, so it's been kind of cool.
Really nice backstory, isn't it?
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
great
awesome.
job.
Right on, appreciate it.
Okay, we got to mention that I think there's going to be some surf tomorrow for Sunday, October 7th at 7 a.m. Don't we have from 7 to noon at 15th Street, Powerhouse Park in Del Mar. We're going to have a little bit of fun where you can check out wetsuits, ride some boards, and maybe chase Baldy, right?
So you can demo a lot of the different equipment from here, Dave,
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep,
Are
definitely.
you going to have some Blackbirds there tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll have a few owls out there tomorrow.
Oh, that's good to know.
Nice.
Where do I find they got wetsuits there too, huh?
Wetsuits, 2013.
Oh, we're going, Dave. We're going. Because I didn't bring anything, but that sounds fun.
You didn't bring anything but your Speedos.
Hey, it's a little too cold for that, but I'll tuck it in and we'll go out.
Well, pleasure meeting you. Thank
Likewise.
you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, best of luck, Tim. I love
Thank
that
you, guys.
backstory. Thanks
Appreciate
for sharing
it.
that
Thank you.
with us.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Any legends here? Any people that you admire that you've seen?
Man.
Tell us about the show and why people, if they're in Southern California, they might consider coming tomorrow morning.
No, you know what? This show's amazing. Scott Bass is a personal friend of mine. He's the director and the founder of the show. I've actually been working the show with him for the last 6 years, so it's been a real privilege to do that. And I've seen so many amazing shapers be honored, you know, as the honored legendary shaper.
Yep.
Exactly. And I mean, it's pretty obvious. Mark Richards, by far one of the most influential surfers and shapers ever in the sport. But I mean, one of the most impressive things, personal story, that I have experienced in the show, and I've met pretty much every legend, you know, surfer shaper that's come through the shows. And they're all amazing people, but one of the things that stands out about Mark Richards is the meekness of the man, because he's such a powerful presence in the water, what he's contributed to in the surf industry, both on the surfer side and the shaper side, and yet he's very approachable. And I think that's one of the things that stands out about this show is the approachability and the interactiveness between the consumer and the people that are making the things they love, the surfboards and the products that go with them. And it's the best thing about this show.
He was true to form when busting down the door. He was an Australian, incredible in the water and modest and humble on the beach. He
Absolutely.
wasn't pounding his chest. An amazing individual. We're going to meet him tomorrow, right? He'll be on this.
We will make sure to get him here tomorrow. You and I will be enthralled, as well as you on your TVs at home.
Yeah.
And it's going to be one of the many things we'll bring live here tomorrow.
Blackbirdsurf.com,
Check
correct?
it out. That's it.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Tim.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we're going to wrap things up here once again tomorrow at 7 a.m. And that is at, I believe, 15th Street, Powerhouse Park. Check out the latest fins, the gear, the wetsuits, the boards. Try it out. Roll up early. Parking's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Is Dave Stanfield surfing?
We'll see.
Because people want to come and see Dave. That's a draw. Don't laugh it up, Dave.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go live at 12 o'clock, and what's going to be very interesting at 12 o'clock, we will not be here. We're going to have a table, and it's really important. It's the round table discussion.
Yes, it is, and you've probably got the notes there. I believe it's the state of the industry, and some of the powerhouses of our industry right now will break it down. Tell us what's going on.
I believe the moderator will be Chris Morrow.
Chris Morrow, yep.
Chris Morrow will be the moderator. So we're going to wrap things up here. Let's see, on behalf of Scott Bash, Baldwin Baldy, who you can chase him tomorrow, win yourself a board, go down to the park, and I believe it starts at 9 o'clock. Gary Linden, Todd Kline, I'm David Stanfield. So long, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at noon for the roundtable discussion.
See you in the water.
Thank you for the